Been lied to. Size inclusivity does not exist with designer and luxury brands. First, let's break down what is the designer and luxury price point. Designer price points usually run from $500 to $2,500, give or take. In addition, designer price point is based on the materials used, the brand's customer base, where it hangs in department stores, and the brand's aesthetic. At the designer price point, it's more ready to wear to seasonal cycles. And luxury price points usually run $1,000 to even 5 figures, depending on the article of clothing, whether it's a top, pants, dress, jumpsuit, or outerwear. In the luxury price point, the materials used is of much higher quality and the workmanship is more refined. While the style aesthetic is more pared down to a more uniform aesthetic, ready to wear might not be as seasonal because the style aesthetic is more uniform. You could get styles out of season. Some of the styles is custom made to order. Second, we need to talk about what true plus sizing is and not that token plus sizing of 14 and 16 that you see on some of the brands. In women's wear, the fashion industry has 2 size scales. One is Missy and the other is women's. As you can see from the size chart, Missy comes mostly in numeric numbers with alphanumeric sizing too. However, in women's or plus sizing, it's normally alphanumeric with a W to distinguish that is a plus size. A lot of designers have done away with this industry standard. Nowadays, you have to look at the brand size chart to see what your sizing will be specific to the brand. That's pretty much like sending that token plus size model who is not really a true plus size anyway. So industry standard plus sizing usually run from size 18 to about size 28, or in alphanumeric sizing it's 1x to 5x. We'll only talk about clothing here. Here's some brands that have used the tokens plus size model in their runway shows. The token plus size model might not necessarily be a true plus size, or if they are a true plus size, they will never send one down the runway with a tailor piece representing the brand. However, when you go into their websites to look for true plus sizing, none can be found. As you can see, designers do not offer plus sizing. At the luxury brands, you need to schedule an appointment and they might custom make the style for you. Depending on the brand, some designer brands will custom make plus sizing, and then in the luxury market, you could get things custom made to a plus size. This is pretty common and this is the only sustainable way for luxury brands to do it. Here's 3 main reasons why designer and luxury brands do not do size inclusivity. As someone who has worked with girls, Missy, and plus sizes, I speak with some authority. From experience, I know at the designer level, customers aren't willing to pay for the actual cost of size inclusivity as a business model. Because customers aren't willing to pay the extra cost, this is why designer brands offer custom-made clothes for people who are in the plus size. This is the only viable, sustainable business models designers can afford to do. But it isn't size inclusive as a business model. I just want to be clear. I'm going to show why it isn't sustainable as a business model to do size inclusivity when you are at the contemporary and designer price point. For the same amount of fabric, you could get 2 dresses out of Missy sizing, but you only get 1 dress in plus sizing. Also, a lot of mass-produced clothes are made of synthetic knits, so you could get a lot more mileage out of your fabric than you would get out of a woven fabric. Not only that, but usually woven goods come much narrower than synthetic goods, unless you pay a higher premium for the wider width of the fabric. Next, I'm going to show you how consumption of fabric nearly makes it impossible for designers to do size inclusivity. Here's one of the reasons why designer fashion is expensive. Natural fiber fabrics such as wool and cashmere have a nap much like velvet. A lot of designers have to cut the garment in one direction. Otherwise, you could get shading due to the nap of the natural fiber fabric. To illustrate, let's just say that this is a piece of fabric. In Missy sizing, I'm able to lay up 2 dresses cutting this way. However, when it comes to plus sizes, I'm only able to lay one dress due to the proper way of cutting an expensive garment to avoid shading issues. At the moderate price point, I'm able to lay the pattern in two directions with less concern about the shading of the fabric due to meeting a price point in a more competitive market. As you can see, this saves on consumption. All fabrics have a length and cross grain line. All patterns have a grain line that aligns with the fabric grain lines. One of the cheats that mass production will do to reduce the cost of fabric consumption used in the garment is skewing the grain lines of the pattern against the grain line of the fabric. This reduces consumption considerably. When people complain about an ill-fitting garment, this is one of the main reasons why. Now let's talk about print placement and how it affects fabric consumption. The same rules apply, but here's the difference between mass production and designer brands. As you can see, you're still able to lay up two dresses if you do a print placement and missy sizing. However, when you do plus sizing, the print does not scale up to the plus size fit. In order to do plus sizing, brands will have to scale the print to fit the plus size scale. This is very costly to do in the designer price point. Here are some examples of print placement. These are woven prints, which is the most costly way of doing prints, as it's woven by color yarns. The second costly way is silk screen printing like these with print placement. Here's how moderate price point do print placement. They do an all-over print where placement is indistinguishable so it does not take up extra consumption. When it comes to mass production, again, you can skew the grain lines to save in consumption since the print makes it indistinguishable if the grain lines are skewed. In mass production, you could get silk screen printing with overprints to reduce costs. If there is a print placement to reduce costs further, it could be done with digital printing, which is the cheapest way to print on fabric. And I'm gonna explain why the cost is so much in the next part about fabric costs. Wanna know why there's a huge price difference between designer and mass production clothing for the same style? Here are the four main factors that determine the price of the clothes you buy. The first is development time and cost. Typically, it's a 6-month cycle in the designer market. In the mass production life cycle, you can see it's half the time. What a lot of people don't know is in the 6-month cycle of development in the designer market, you have to pay for everything. Versus when you do mass production, development offshore is usually free or very nominal because it's offset to the units produced in mass production. Then we come to the cost of fabric and trims used. As you can see, synthetics are relatively cheap in mass production. It usually runs $1 to $3 per yard compared to a moderate price point, which usually runs under $30. So the fabric could be a synthetic blend, a natural fiber blend, or a natural fiber. Then you come to the luxury market where you get grade A goods. So it will run anywhere from the high double digits to hundreds of dollars. Sewing construction of a garment factors into the labor cost of the garment. So you have to factor in such as per inch, the correct finishing, machine versus hand finishing. Lastly, where are the garments produced? Cost of labor depends on the location of where the clothes are made. I hope this gives you some insight and transparency into why your clothes cost what they do in the contemporary and luxury market versus mass production. If you like this video, hit the like button and help me grow this channel by subscribing so I can make more videos about the fashion industry and style tips and how to develop your personal style. Please check out my channel for other videos like this. Thank you. Bye.